minute. We are now live. Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing out there? This is your brother Shabazz. Sometimes Professor Shabazz, but we're going to be Brother Shabazz right now. Coming to you live. This is The Proper Perspective. We got a special guest with us tonight. And we're going to be talking a little bit about second chances. What does it mean to have a second chance, to get a second chance? So as you see on the YouTube page, the title is A Proper Perspective, Second Chances. Is Expungement Reparations? And we're talking with the one and only. We're talking with Lillie Branch-Kennedy, who is a serious, I don't have the right word, a serious champion and well-known Richmond, Virginia advocate. And so, you know, without further ado, we are going to get it started. I would like to thank you. Let me get the proper way to refer to you. It's Miss Branch-Kennedy or Mrs. Branch-Kennedy?
Mrs. Branch-Kennedy.
Mrs. Branch-Kennedy. Okay. I'm like, everybody says you was an English major. You should know how to. It's one of those things I always got mixed up. I see the MRS, the MIS, the MZ, and I'm like, I done lost my mind. I don't know what to say.
Right.
So, Mrs. Branch-Kennedy, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Now, let me see. We got we do have, you know, we got some people watching already. And so what I might do throughout the conversation, I will do things like, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I'll put things on the screen. So when people are saying something that is, you know, at least cordial and, you know, interesting, I will put them on the screen. Every now and then you get a few trolls that come around and they start saying things in the chat room to detract everybody. So I will either block them or just not put them on the screen. But peace to Lorene Crowell and peace to Mother of Civilization. They both are now in the room and they are making comments, just saying hello to everybody. So again, without further ado, we will get it started. If you want to introduce yourself before I start throwing all of these questions at you, then I'm gonna shut up and let you take the floor.
Well, my name is Lillie Branch-Kennedy, and I'm also known as Miss K in the criminal legal community itself. And they call me Miss K. And I'm the founder and executive director of a resource information help for the disadvantaged and the disenfranchised, also known as RIHD.
Okay.
We were founded I founded the organization in 2002, and we've been working ever since then to create a safer Virginia criminal legal system by reducing recidivism through support of those impacted by the system, advocating for policy changes like sentencing reform, and offering youth development and community education aimed for second chances and a safer community. We're physically located in the Richmond Virginia area, but we are a statewide organization.
Okay. Now, sometime tonight, I'm gonna try to pull up, your website just to show it to people so they can see how to get there. I'm trying to do that a little bit now, but I don't have it perfected on the screen. So if I show it, it won't. It's too big. I gotta play with the settings and all of this. So I'm gonna get that situated. So before we go into screen sharing. Since you've been doing this work for over 20 years, in plain talk, why is now, if I word this the wrong way, just let me know. I'm not trying to discredit anybody, for instance, that might be working in corrections. I'm not trying to, can anybody who earns a living in the criminal justice system. But why does it seem like the criminal justice system is so broken, at least for black folks in Virginia? What's the main thing you see as what the criminal justice system does to black people, families, the community?
Its laws, well, first of all, the criminal legal, I call it the criminal legal system, Virginia criminal legal system, and has and remain is devastating for black and brown families in Virginia due to the laws and policies that are designed to control the black communities, minority communities, leading, and that has led to systematic racism and disproportionate policy, harsher sentencing, and profound social and economic collateral damage beyond the immediate sentence. The biggest problem I find with the criminal legal system, they're still with the mentality to lock them up and throw away the key. That remains, their objective. They fail to realize now. Let me just back up on something. When it comes to the criminal legal system, our organization advocate for fairness and consistency in their laws and their policy. We do not, we don't make it a practice to get involved with the crime. It said, because we have to recognize crime has victims, carry victims along with them. And we don't want to diminish the victims of crime, nor do we want to throw away the key and label people who have committed a crime as inhumane people. We all make mistakes. There's a degree in which we make mistakes, and we should, but however, we need to be held accountable for all our mistakes. So with that said, I don't think Virginia is slow in applying earned second chances for those who have made a mistake. May it be a violent or non-violent manner. They are very slow in understanding that people do deserve an earned second chance in society. But and then still they must be held accountable for their actions on it. So the two of those things have to come together. Where do they meet? Where does I committed a crime and now I've done some time, but I want to get out earlier than the time that was given to me by the system. And so where did the two come together? Where do we meet to meet those two issues in there? And also, again, the victim, if there is a victim, if there was victimization part of the equation. Excuse me.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you say that, some of those things that you said, Virginia being slow. I've recognized that, even in other situations and areas, not just with the law, but just in some other things also. So it does seem like Virginia is always dragging its feet when it comes to improvements and updating and all kinds of things. What? Let me see. Where's my? And I'm not trying to like some people say, you too negative. You just always talking about Richmond. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to let it set the stage so that people can understand, what folks are really up against. This with that as I want to move into the next question, but I feel like it may be changing the subject a little bit too much, but just this whole, like, how difficult has it been? This is like maybe a new question, but how has it truly been? How difficult has it been to get people to come aboard and to change their thinking about offering a second chance?
It's difficult because, as I stated, the victim parts of it is difficult. That is the front line of it is victims, you know, the victim impact on it. However,
Right.
what has happened through our work in our organization, we've been able to address that and also make some changes to it through legislatively. For example, the 19%, they estimate 19% of the Virginia's population, black individuals comprise of 19% of the state population. Yet black individuals comprise of about 55 or more prison population in Virginia. And so one has to ask, why is, if you're only 19%, 20% of the population, why are you 55% of the incarcerated in the prison population? Why does that exist? And how on it? It exists because of racial disparities and racial income, where people want to quickly arrest black people than they do with white people. If they see you walking or looking a certain way, police maybe want to stop you. So the thing is, we're quicker to we're more in prison. We make up the prison population in Virginia, not just Richmond. In Virginia, the population, blacks and brown people on it. We make up their that position. So why is there any need? Where is the need to try to give out fair sentencing? That's where things come into play about the sentencing process. Virginia, it has not been fair in their sentencing process, and we have been able to discover that, chime in there, and then go to what we call to battle to try to make changes in that to help reduce the population, which is the sentencing part of it. Maybe I need to give an example to get for a better understanding. For example, for example, we have a client that was they're all clients to us. So you know, all of those that are incarcerated and their families are considered clients of ours. We do that's how we respectfully cite them. So we have a person who did a malicious wounding assault against someone. Nobody's, you know, we are not condoning such behavior, but he was charged and found guilty for malicious wounding. Well, in Virginia, they do a pre-sentencing report. I'm not sure. Have you ever heard, or do you know what the pre-sentencing report is?
I have heard about it. I have heard of it. I'm not 100%, but I mean, if you wanna, you can, you know, by all means.
Okay. The pre-sentencing report basically is the offender and defender lifetime criminal history. Is their criminal history record all the way from the time if they were a minor and they went through the criminal justice system. It is the makeup of who they are as an offender, and it is used by the professional and by the judges and the judges to determine one's sentence. And in
Okay.
it, it's a report. It has a low, a mid, and a high scale, meaning you can do 5, 10, 15 years, low, mid, and high. Well, we had
Okay.
someone, I'll give it a good example of really draconian laws, where it was malicious wounding. His pre-sentencing report had him at 8, 17, and maximum amount of time, 27 years. Well, the judge sentenced him because of Virginia. You can go over or under the sentence. The judge can go over that sentence, the recommendation, or under that recommendation. Well, he
Okay.
chose to go over it. He went over it and gave this young man, first time offender, yes, it was malicious wounding, he gave him 2 life plus 33 years with no parole. Oh, before I begin, parole was abolished in Virginia in 1995. Any person that commits a crime or a sentence after January 1st, 1995 are no longer eligible for parole. And when that happened, when the abolishment of parole happened, the prison system grew from less than 10,000 to over 20 or 30 some thousand people, because they were able to, and with that rule that they can go over the sentence, they began over sentencing people. And that is how RIHD was formed, on the backs of that over sentencing, of trying to reduce that from happening on that. So with this person here, he received 2 life and 33 years and remains incarcerated still. But his the professional sentencing pre-sentencing guidelines had him at a max of 27, at a minimum of 8.
Wow.
How do you get to that? And so I learned of this horror of in sentencing. And it didn't just happen to this one person. You will be shocked to see how many people who have been black and brown people, majority black and brown people, who have been over sentenced. But again, they can go over the sentencing guideline. That is a law. But it is proven, we have been able to prove that it is mainly black and brown people in this Commonwealth of Virginia. People committed, white person, black person committing the same crime. Not to say white people do not go to prison. I'm not saying that. But they do not fill the prisons as the prison dorms as black people are. And they're not always receiving these types of sentences, because first of all, many of them are charged at a lesser crime than with black people. So it's so much in there. First, you have black and brown people being charged. They're charging them with crimes, overcharging them. For example, it could be a robbery. It could have been a store robbery, but they'll make it more than just a robbery itself. They will add on to it and build on to it and charge you with multiple things. Because something like this here, if you rob a store or if you rob any place and you have your hands in your pocket, did you not know that can mean that you may have had a gun, and you can be charged with having a weapon unknown to be charged. You your hands in your pocket. Well, they will ask, the victim is sometimes asked, did you have a gun? No, I didn't see a gun. Did they have your hand in their pockets? Yeah, they had their hands in the pockets. Well, you don't know if they had a gun or not.
Right. So just tricks, loopholes, and tricks to over sentence, to overcharge, and to hit that, like, the 13th. A lot of times people say they reference that documentary about the 13th Amendment where
Yes.
they had the loophole in there. Yeah, y'all free except unless.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just another example of how they massage the rules so that they can still try to keep their hands on as many of us as possible.
And keep us locked up.
Locked
And
up,
keep
right?
us locked up. And keep us locked up because I've realized through my work, there are many there have been crimes that they may have committed, but they didn't need to be locked up. They needed help. They needed physical help. They needed programs, the
Right,
alternative to locking them up. Because,
right.
they have this thing about in Virginia, well, not just in Virginia, but about prisons, period. They say, well, nonviolent offense, say if you had a nonviolent offense, a drug offense, and they lock you up in prison, they will provide programs, not programs that deal with your addiction, because most of them come in with an addiction problem, but
Uh-huh.
they will pursue letting them out earlier, knowing they're going to come back in, because when you let them out, there's no real programs on the outside to help to get them and to help them to deal with the underlying problem, which is the
Right.
drug abuse that they have on there. And so it's like it's like we're being my girlfriend, a dear friend of mine's, call it politricking us all the
Yeah.
time. Just
Yeah.
simply politricking us to believe we are in here to reduce crime, to end mass incarceration, to provide help and nurturing of those who have gone astray that need our help. They're not receiving the help. They're not even receiving the needed tools that's necessary when they are released for re-entering back into society. There has been some change in the last I would say the last 5 years. There have been subtle little changes made in the reentry part in returning citizens, such as allowing them to have medical insurance through Medicaid, which will unfortunately probably be terminated due to our current administration, the Trump administration. We don't foresee that to continue. For the Medicaid policies on it, and the
Right.
food stamps. They're allowed to have receive food stamps and medical care. But the problem we have is, the biggest problem we still have with returning citizens is safe housing, having adequate
Right.
and safe housing. There are many
Right.
that's still living in the streets, living from hotel to hotel, that they can, if they can muster up the money to pay for, or wine, and these things here, you cannot say, I want to reduce crime and reduce recidivism, and I want safe community, and yet you do not pass bills and laws. You do not pass bills and laws that help into deterring the problem and healing the problem.
Right. Right.
We
Well,
have
since
dollars for everything money. The United States is the richest country in the world. We have monies to
Mhm.
send to every million. And we're not even talking millions. We're talking $1 billion to other countries. Now, mind you, we should help other countries that are in need. But we need to help our own country. We need to help the United States. We need to help our state, Virginia. We need to help our cities, Hampton Roads, Central Virginia, Northern Virginia. That is where we
exactly,
need to be at. We need to take care of home first.
you are preaching to the choir. You are preaching to the choir. Now, and I will say, since you brought up the current administration, that's a great segue.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we all know, I mean, and it seems like every day things just get worse and worse. But it was bad enough. Like last November, it was bad enough just to say we have a convicted felon in the White House. But now we got a convicted felon in the White House who's bombing Nigeria, who's attacking Venezuela, who's promising to continue attacking Venezuela if the new, there you go, shout out to Nigeria. If anybody from Nigeria is in the room, is in the watching, say something, let us know in the chat, because our hearts and our minds are with you. But he's even going to the point where now he's basically replaced the Venezuelan president with a new one, and telling the new one, if you don't play ball, I'm going to replace you too. But I might be preaching too much. Let me stick to my question. You know, a lot of, like, he can still vote. He can still perform civic duties. But for a lot of us, and at least in the black and brown communities, once we get that felony conviction, it's a life sentence of closed doors. So just, can you elaborate on, talk about just the brutality of that? What does this say about the country and this system that we're grappling with?
It's to keep black, and I say this really strongly from my heart, to keep mainly black and brown people, marginalized people, to keep us out, to keep us from being part, having a voice, being part of what goes on in your community, in your state, and in this country. How is it that you take away a person's right? And the other thing, one thing first, you don't have to go to prison to lose your right as a thing. Just having a felony conviction, you lose all of your rights. Your right to vote, your right to serve on a jury, your rights to be a notary, to be a notary public, and your voting rights. All of those rights are needed. We all need to have those, be able to have those rights in order to make any changes of empowering in our communities, empowering our families. They all goes towards those things on it.
You made a very interesting statement. I think I heard you correctly. You said you don't have to go to. Did you say you don't have to go to prison to have your rights stripped away?
Yes, there's always been. If you just you could go in, a judge you get convicted of a felony, as long as it's a felony, in non-violent or violent felony. If it's a felony in Virginia, you lose your right to all your rights. It's always been that way.
That's crazy. It's crazy, and I'm pointing it out because at least I think a lot of people are under the impression that if you have this quote unquote record on you, it literally means you've been to prison and you spent time behind bars, and then you have the people that say, well, that was your fault, and so you did this and you had to stay there. But the idea, for those kind of people, you don't even have to they don't have to put you behind those bars.
No,
they could just put it on paper.
When you apply for an apartment, or apply for a job, apply for anything, it asks. It doesn't say, did you go to prison? It asks, are you a convicted felon?
Right.
Are you a convicted felon? There are so many women and men that did not go to prison, yet are convicted of a felony for whatever reason, who have lost their rights, their basic rights. And in Virginia, every state has its own policy on getting whether or not you get your rights restored, and if it's done by case by case basis, or it's done automatically. Virginia has bounced back and forth. Virginia refuses to pass a constitution amendment to formally to automatically restore people's rights. So there's an application process for Virginia. You have to fill out an application and requests. And it has changed back and forth depending on what governor is in office. With the Democratic governors, Northam and McCullough, they did executive orders. Executive orders are laws or procedures that is made by the governor themselves that can come into law, but it's only law as long as the next person comes into office. So it's not permanent. It's just a temporary. It's like a Band-Aid on it. It's temporary. We do not have a permanent law in Virginia to allow people who have simply acquired a felony charge on a non-violent or violent, who are lifetime disenfranchised, who will not have their rights.
Now, this is interesting. At least what I wanted to say is, how do we get more people involved so that like the work that you're doing, and since the law is not permanent, how do we direct people to say, look, is it that we need to tell people to come out to some type? Is there an event? Is there a rally? Is there a protest? Is there not school board, because it's not the school? Is there a local representative that we can reach out to and call and say, we want you to support this bill, or like we need it? But I don't necessarily think that a lot of people are that aware of how we work these things. And that's one of the reasons why I did want to like have this conversation with you and salute the work that you're doing, because a lot of people, like there are a lot of people, especially in Virginia, there are a lot of people that don't want second chances to happen. They just want doors shut forever. But there are people who want or believe in, even if they don't know anything, and you start talking to them, they believe in this open the doors and second chances and help people with this, that, and the other, but they don't know how to access an avenue or a lane to work in that, to work towards it. So how would we, who do we contact in order to help at least speak up and say, yeah, we want that law to be permanent and not just, penciled in for whoever wins the election?
Well, our organization, Resource Information Help for the Disadvantaged and Disenfranchised, RIHD, back in 2013, we saw a need for several initiatives to educate the public. And we said to ourselves, well, it's hard to get the public to come to us. Why don't we go to the public? So in 2013, we formed the first mobile justice tour campaign. And since 2013, each year, we go out into the communities, and mainly marginalized communities in there, because they're the ones that are not being informed and kept up to date as to the information. They're the ones that we consider disadvantaged people. People whom are not receiving the information and resources that they need to be proactive themselves. Because we want the people to be proactive. It can't be an organization that has a few people in it. We want to expand that. We want to educate the public about it. And so with the Mobile Justice Tour, what we have added into our tour is there to talk about criminal justice reforms and updates on the legal system on it. That is its primary function. However, at each and every event, we have restoration of rights and expungement rights, informational and application assistance to bring awareness to this problem on it. Now, the public is more aware of the need, and they support They actually support. That is the mobile justice tour you just put up
Yeah.
on it. Brother Willie
Right.
X. Brown is our ambassador who leads that program often. So educating the public, but understanding the process of how do we get a permanent restoration of rights law passed. It is not as simple as other bills and laws, meaning you just can't get sponsor a bill of it. It has a procedural way of handling it. It has like it's a 2-year process, and you have to first. It's called a constitutional amendment and process in which you have to go through. But the point
Okay.
is, it can be done. It can
Right.
be done, but it is political. It is partisan. And I'm speaking truth to power. The Republican side of the legislature oppose a permanent restoration of rights for people, regardless, black, brown, white, whatever. They oppose that for anybody that has a felony record. Now, the
Right.
nonviolent offenders, they have softened on and allowing them to apply and receive their restoration of rights certificate.
Right.
But
Okay.
the violent offenses, and a violent offense ranges from anything. It could be somebody went inside of a store and robbed somebody, but didn't even hurt. There was no physical harm to the person. Now, there's always mental harm. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, but there's no physical. Yet they're considered a violent offense. That's considered a
Right.
violent offense. So they are lifetime disenfranchised unless they go through the process of doing a case by case application and then have to wait out the time. And many don't know where to get the application from unless if they come
Right.
to our mobile justice tour, and we'll have them there. We'll have somebody there representing them for the assist them on that. But it's a huge problem, and this system hasn't done much to simplify it. Now, when I will say this here, when Northam, former Governor Northam, was in office, he did do through executive order simplify the process. He literally had it automatic when they got out of prison.
I think I remember
Actually,
that.
yes, but when Youngkin came back into order, because it was only executive order. That's the problem with executive order. He
Right.
ended that process.
Right.
So it's right now we are on a governor to governor basis. I don't know what this current governor Stanberger will be doing. I hopefully
Right.
hope that she resumes what Northam did. But more importantly, I'm hoping that during her tenure as governor, that there become a permanent automatic restoration of rights for people, for all persons, to enable them in there. If I've done my time, I've committed a crime, I've been held accountable, I've done my time, and I'm released from prison, and you want me to be successful, yet you taking away the needed tools for me to be successful, I don't understand that. I don't see the rational. I don't see the rational, no reasoning for that. But yes, I do, because it's to keep certain people oppressed. Let me take that back. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. To
Yeah.
keep
Like
certain people oppressed at
oppressed.
all stages of the game. I apologize for saying that.
Nah, no apologies. At least not on this channel. You don't need to
Okay.
apologize, because this
Okay.
is what I'm trying to like get people to recognize and understand. Now, I'm gonna put something on the screen. If you don't want to respond to it, that's fine. Because I like I said, sometimes people come into the chat and they, everybody's saying something that they think is something of importance. And I'm not saying that it's
Right.
not, but you don't have to respond to it if you don't want to. But
Right.
Mother of Civilization 317 says entrepreneurship is key. Don't let the restoration of rights process block your money. Let's build and become self-sufficient. Now, if you want to respond to that, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I just like one of the reasons I do this is because part of and you may already know this, I'm not sure, but part of like YouTube land is when people come into the chat rooms and they say things. If it furthers the conversation, then you put it on the screen, and you go back and forth with that as well. If it doesn't further the conversation, at least for me and my channel, now there's some channels that I watch and they put everything on the screen, and it just be people trolling and saying all kind of outrageous stuff. And I'm like, I
Right.
at least try to keep my focus, but don't feel like I may continue putting stuff on the screen, but don't feel like you have to say something. I might say something a little bit later about the person, about the comment that they made.
So I agree with the person that posted about the entrepreneurship. I believe we should be that more black and brown people and marginalized people should invest and be more into the entrepreneurship, be a part of the entrepreneurship team. However,
Right.
everybody can't be an own a business. Everybody can't. Everybody can't do it. So it can't be in one space that we are liberating ourselves by being an entrepreneur. But when we have to work a 9 to 5 job and still be hindered, there's a hindrance on there due to the systematic hindrance on this, that we don't prosper. We have to be able to prosper in any and every lane we fit in and we're in. If I'm in the 9 to 5 job lane, I need to be able to prosper. And the laws that are on the books on there should not be able to keep me out of what I need to do, that I am able me to grow, to be, to do better, to have more on it. So yes, I think that black and brown people are really in the background. We have more, of course, we have more wealthy or rich people, celebrities, and that. I'm not talking about them. You know, that's them and good for them. I'm talking about small businesses, medium businesses, people prospering on there. We should be in that field as well, and we should be able to prosper in that field for in the future. So I agree with them to a certain degree.
Exactly. And thank you for that, because and I like I think to some extent it may just be an online conversation, but there's a lot of times I've seen this type of thing, and I'm not saying this to castigate mother civilization, so don't
Right.
take it that way. But a lot of times when you start talking about like rights and voting and elections and things like that, people say we just need to be entrepreneurs. And so there was somebody recently online that came out and said, look, I'm a successful entrepreneur now, but I had to work a 9 to 5 for this entire journey. So like I didn't wake up and just said, because this is my entrepreneurial dream and pursuit, and voila, next month I was a no, I had like they were saying, my entrepreneurial journey took 5 years. In those 5 years, I had to have a 9 to 5 almost the whole time, or off and on. I worked, then I stopped to pursue, but I always had to go back. So I appreciate, what you're saying and how you address the comment. I don't think anybody is quote unquote against entrepreneurship, but we shouldn't be in a either or. Let's not work on rights. Let's just work on being entrepreneurs. That's not like it's not the way to look at
Right.
things.
Correct. And I have an example. I call him a young man to me, that he was in prison for 20 years or so. He was released. Uh, and in the last 5 years of being released, he was a truck driver. He's got his trucking license real quick, and he was driving the truck. And today, about almost a year, he opened up from the time that he opened up his business, his own his small store. But it's prospering, and this store is running really well on him. And that's the show. He understood, and he and I actually talked about it. And he said, I had to work first. I had to have a job and build my resources up, and that's what he did. And now he's he's living his dream of on being an ownership, and I understand it. And I know a few other persons who were part of the Virginia criminal legal system who have come out. And in fact, when I think of it, all of them worked at what we call 9 to 5 to get where they are today, and that is owning their own business. So we have, I don't know a better statement to say. You're not crawl to walk, but a baby has to crawl before it can walk. And we have to sometimes, I don't like that analogy of saying crawl to walk, but that's the only thing I can come to mind to say. We have to have a starting point, a midpoint, and then we have that big point that we move forward into. But to jump out and try to start a business, especially if you've been incarcerated and different things, you for long-term incarceration especially, and you come out and you want to start a business, you've been incarcerated for a long time. You need to first understand what the world on the outside has been while you've been down for 10, 20, 30 years. And so to start a business that quickly, unless you have the money and capital to do so, that's fine. But the world as you knew it and things that you should have learned throughout the years did not happen. And so you have to take a step back and start slow, but stay focused on your journey and move forward in that journey.
This is all true. And what you said it's a perfect analogy. You do have to crawl before you walk. And the idea that, the idea that all you need is more entrepreneurship or better entrepreneurship or success is just like you can't necessarily earn enough money to keep yourself out of the legal system. If you don't have any work towards controlling the legal system, they can always change the laws to come after you. And I'm like I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to defend anybody that might be offensive to folks, but I mean, Bill Cosby and Puff Daddy are perfect examples of, it's not just about having money. If the laws are not on your side.
That's right. That is so correct. I mean, you have, R. Kelly, you have so many people on it. Now, mind you, they committed a crime and they wind up incarcerated in prison. All the money that they had couldn't even buy them the freedom that they needed to be out. Not to say that they should have. I don't know whether they're guilty or not guilty, but they were found guilty. And they're in there paying their dues, being held accountable for it. But none of the money, and for the most part, most of their money went to those 9 to 5 lawyers that they had to pay. They had to pay to just do what? Wind up in it. So, again, I agree. I support anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, but we have to understand that everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. It's like everybody wanted to be the chief. Well, where are the Indians? Where are the people that are doing the basic work in 9 to 5? Everybody can't be a chief. Everybody can't own a business. And I think sometimes maybe the person may have been wanting to speak on we have in our own community, the Black Wall Street. I think they may have been trying to, I'm just thinking that they were leaning into Black Wall Street where everything was black. Now, I tell you, I think that, I am very much impressed about the Black Wall Street. I'm saddened about what had happened to it. But the fact but even with them, you had bankers, you had things, everybody was not an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
That's a different thing on it. That is saying we want to radicalize ourselves in our own territory and on to that. You know, it's like the Jews do the Jews and the Asians do the Asians, or the blacks do the black. That's a whole that's a different synopsis, you know, on it, and I respect that, you know.
Right. Now I'm gonna still put up some of these people's comments, but I'm gonna move into our next question. You've sort of touched on it a little bit. We've talked about like some examples, and I'm not saying that you need to give somebody's name and information, but because you named your organization, Resource Information Help for the Disadvantaged and the Disenfranchised. What's a story of one person that shows you what those words really mean? What did the system take from them, and how did they bounce back?
Well, the name Resource Information Help for the Disadvantaged stands for resource finding. Well, let me start from my personal involvement. My family and I, in 2002, Resource Information Help for the Disadvantaged and Disenfranchised, RIHD, we was founded in response to witnessing the deplorable prison condition, sentencing disparities of my own son, a first-time offender, and the realization of insufficient family support. And that is what started, where I began with my son, who was at the time a college student. And he was fine, but he got into some trouble. And my family and I soon discovered that we were very much naive and lacked the necessary resources to achieve an equal and fair and consistent sentence for our loved one, the defendant, who was the defendant, my son. We also recognized that we were at a disadvantage within the criminal legal system, which disproportionately affects low-income individuals and people of color due to systemic biases, leading to poor outcomes from policy to sentencing, from the policy point of view to the sentencing. These bases have driven by factors such as unaffordable cash bail. We found out that there was bias in the prosecutorial discretion, harsher sentences, and historically inequalities. Well, this is what we found in the system for ourselves. Right. And the only thing that we were not rich, but we were not considered to be. We had to have a paid lawyer, so we had to afford to pay. We were afforded, and we had a paid lawyer for my son. And I had no clue. My family had no clue. My husband and I had no clue about the criminal legal system. Right. What it entails, anything. And so I said, I'm at a total disadvantage to this here, because so many things happen. In order to understand the disadvantage was my son's pre-sentencing report. Remember I spoke about the pre-sentencing report, the low, right, the high, mid, and the high. We were naive that my son committed a crime. All right. He took responsibility for his part and only his part in the crime. The crime was, I can say, what had to do with robbery, but there was no weapons, no anything that was involved in 3 stores. Here's the thing. His pre-sentencing report said 3 years, 7 years, and remember I said about a possibility of a gun, if they had, because they put that a possibility of 13 years max, 13 max, which his paid lawyer said, we're not even looking at that. We're looking at maybe 3 years. My son, wait for it, received from the judge 127 years under a no parole system. Yet his pre-sentencing said 3713 because Virginia law, it was legal. It was legal because Virginia law says that the judge can either go over or under. And you can guess what happened. So that's where we eventually under the 21 day learned of the 21, again, disadvantage. We didn't know the information, but we found the information, disadvantage, that 21 day rule, and the sentence was downgraded from 127 years to 28 years, which is well out of the guidelines still, but we took the 28. Okay, so that's where the disadvantage, and I knew if it's me, it happened to me, this could have happened to somebody. Who else did this happen? At first I thought this, I couldn't believe it. You could not explain to me how this could have happened for the crime in which he was found guilty on. Can I understand that? But it happened. That's where the disadvantage for the lack of resource that is available, that's available to the people of color, economic disadvantage, and other reasons on marginalized people. Then the word and disenfranchised is when we later added that to our name. It was just the disadvantage. We added that to that when we learned the restoration of rights, that when you have a convicted felon, you no longer have the right to vote or to serve as a juror or to do any other things on there. And we felt that that was a wrong that needed to be addressed. And that is when we started the campaign of working on the restoration of rights, of getting the application form and getting as many people. We felt that we could get as many people to get their rights restored, then they can participate. They can participate with laws. They can participate with legislation. They could be a participant in their daily needs in there. And we felt so it became a priority for us to do the restoration of rights, and then later incorporated into the mobile justice tour. So that is basically where the restoration of rights, the disadvantage and the disenfranchised and the disadvantage stem from coming on from that. For marginalized people, I was made to feel that their opinions, because they were made to feel that their opinions are not taken into account by policymakers. And we needed to change that, leaving them with little power to affect the change in their own community. You can't change your community if you can't vote.
And I don't think enough people necessarily put the dots together. Like you'll hear people saying, we're disproportionately a part of the prison system. And you'll hear other people saying, not enough of us vote. And I'm like, well, let's put these dots together. If it's too many of us in the prison, and they shouldn't necessarily be there, or they shouldn't be there for the length of time that they're in there, and it's too many of us not voting, then if you put those two groups together, then maybe you can get some more votes coming along.
And change some of these laws, these draconian laws that's on the books. Like this, I wait for you to if you on it. I want to speak about a law that I am so proud to have been part of it and to do the work to get passed. There are two laws that our organization passed where basically they're sentencing reform. And if we don't have the time, that's fine. But what I wanted to say is that because when we work together and when we educate people, many people became proactive through our mobile justice tour when to help us to pass one bill where an injustice was done, whereupon 540 incarcerated persons were sentences were in error, in a sense, where the judges failed to tell the jurors that parole was abolished. Have you heard about the Fishback bill or the Fishback law?
No, I haven't heard of. No, enlighten us, please. I haven't heard of this.
Oh yes, now you put me right in my element. So in 2009, our organization learned, because we were doing prisoner support work. Most of our work was helping the prisoners to navigate, and the families to navigate the prison system. Here it is. I didn't even know it myself, but I learned it. And I seek and you shall find is not a bad thing if you're seeking righteousness and things to be positive about. So in 2009, we were made aware of 2 different sentencing inefficiency. And so
hold on one second. Did you say it was called the Fishback law? I just want to get the FISHBACK.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I want to put it on the screen in case people.
You can actually Google it as VA Virginia space SB 793 space 2020. Okay, it's a parole eligibility. This is really going to just open your eyes. So in 2009, we learned that at that time, thousands of incarcerated persons who had jury trials. They were tried by the jury, and the jurors were not told that from 1995 to 2000, the jurors were not told that parole was abolished, thereby thinking that they were eligible for parole. Their sentencing by the jurors was made as to thinking that they were going to be paroled. So they gave them these astronomical high sentences. And remember the example that I gave you, that the person had malicious wounding, and he had the 8, 17, and the 27 years, and was given 2 lives and 33 years. He was one of the ones. Because the jury and the attorney, even when the defendant attorney asked the judge, has parole been abolished, the judges would tell them, tell the jurors, do not be concerned with that. That has nothing to do with you, and would not answer that question on it. This literally happened time and time again, and it was proven to have happened on it. Some of the jurors later on stated it, gave testimony to this. So fast forward, after a campaign we ran, that to try to see what we could do to try to remedy this problem. And so for years, we worked on this here for years. We worked on it through the judicial system. But what we found out was in 2000, in June 9th, 2000, a man by the name of Richard Fishback, that's where that name came, he sued Virginia for not allowing the jurors to know that parole was abolished. Thereby, he received a sentence way out of the sentencing guidelines. And he felt that that was an injustice, and he won his case. It's literally a case to establish judicial case. And we used that. Fast forward, moving on to many things happened to get to this point. But in 2020, we were able, then Senator Jennifer McKellen, who patroned the bill, Patron
Okay.
hour bill for this here to make a change. The 540 non-eligible for parole, because parole was abolished in 1995, became eligible for parole as a remedy. And since I don't know the full total, but we do know at least 55 prior to the Youngkin. This is before Youngkin came in, because I have to say that. Prior to that, approximately in 1 year, 55 of them were released from prison who had no alternative to anything. They were to live and die in prison, because they were mainly, most of them were given life sentences, like the young man who received the 17 and the 27 years, who got 2 life in 30 years. That has been, I mean, this is what change can look like. It shouldn't have took all those years, but it happened. With 540 people, 40 male and female combined, now have hope to be returned back into society under the parole system. Because what you do, even though Virginia abolished parole in 1995, there was about 3,000 that remained under the parole system. So they have a two system. They have people under the old parole, and then they have now the fishback parolees that are now eligible for parole. And that is one of our greatest accomplishments to be a part of, and to see our work come into fruition. Whereas, and it wasn't done just by us, solely by us. It was done because of educating the public through the mobile justice tour, through media interviews, through so much for a proactive advocacy work that we did. And we couldn't have done it without the families who came into the fold. Once we educated them at those mobile justice tours, even if it did not personally affect their loved one, they saw hope.
They saw
They saw the chance for change, and they understood. And we told the prisoners and them, they understood. We had to get them to say, though you cannot vote, your families can vote, but they need to be educated. Knowledge to empower change, and that is our campaign. Knowledge to empower campaigns that we are working on.
I like that. Knowledge to empower change.
Yes, we always so acknowledge, power, but it empowers us. If you have knowledge, it empowers us to do things, to contact. We educated the people on how to meet and meet with your legislator, how to be individualized an advocate, be an advocate as an individual on it. That we all, it's not just RIHD. Every single person, human, is an advocate. Can be an advocate.
Exactly.
I won't say is an advocate, but can be an advocate.
But can be. Right. And that was part of the reason, I wanted to do this conversation in general, but specifically why I wanted, even some of the people in the chat room we're giving you your flowers, as they say.
I thank you.
Just in my music. Thank you, Miss K. I'm forever grateful. Lorene Crowell. Thanks, Miss K, for all you have done in these 25 years and continue to do. Because this, like I said, this information, it is so very much needed. And there's still so many people that people are so, I feel as though people are so disconnected that, like, your next door neighbor could be sitting on this information and y'all don't talk. So you don't know. But it's just the idea of just getting it out there. And like you said, when they find out and when they hear it, that's when they start to they start to realize its impact. So even if, okay, well, I don't know nobody. So, but no, when they hear it, then they're like, okay, well, I don't know anybody, but I'm willing to help. What do I need to do? So again, I salute you. And I kind of wanted to maybe try to segue into this next question. And you've already name dropped a couple of people. So like that's sort of like the segue, because with these important laws that you've been working on and that you've helped to get passed or gotten passed, like, do you have like is it a big list of legislators, or is it a small list of legislators that you work with that help get this stuff done? How did you get them to listen? Were they open, or were they like, look, talk to me later, and you just kept banging on the door?
Let me tell you, I wasn't always a fan when I saw the laws that are some, not even just criminal justice laws, reform justice laws, but even certain other laws that was on the books of Virginia. And I was like, oh my goodness, I really wasn't into the politics of things. Really wasn't I, until my son got in trouble. And then I found out this is political, how political this is. But the thing regarding, go down, there's 3 particular journeys that I want to speak of. And one is when I went to each of these 3 individuals that I want to speak of, I had no idea, no expectations, that they were going to even want to put themselves in the position of criminal justice and reforming this system, because a lot of times people want to shy away from it. It can be at times political suicide if you try to reform. Now, if you're trying to, add on bills, things like sentences and abolish things and the death penalty, if you're trying to get those things going, you can find a lot of people, you'd be surprised. They're pro champion those things. Well, the first time was in 2018. We did a bill in 2018, Virginia House Bill 1055, HB 1055 in 2018. And Delegate Chanel L. Hearn, she patroned this bill. And it was an important bill, just as equally as important as the Fishback was, because it dealt with discretionary sentencing guidelines and judicial performance, requiring reports to the General Assembly to note when judges fail to provide written explanation for departing from those guidelines, aiming to increase transparency to the sentencing. You know how important that bill is? I'm going to give you a real quick example. Say, for example, I'll use myself. I have been, I've been convicted of a crime that was 10 years, and I was given 15 years by the judge. Well, and I had a co-defendant, and I don't have to, I had a co-defendant. We did the same crime, but I got 15 years, and they only got 5 years. And our pre-sentencing reports was basically the same. The pre-sentencing report was lower than the 15 years that I got. It was, say it was 5, 7, 10, and I wound up getting 15. Well, okay, you can go over, but the law on the book says you shall, SHALL, and I have a thing to tell you about the word shall, what that means. Shall do a written explanation why you went over or modified the pre-sentencing thing. That's a fairness. If I'm going to get sentenced over the guidelines, I have a right to know why you chose it. At least say why you chose it. If you didn't like my name, or you don't like my skin color, whatever reason, shall do a written application or modifying or on a modification. Well, doing our research, we found from 1995 to 2017 at that time. No, 1995 to, it was just a few years. Anyway, it was a few years. We found 3,000 cases where the judges did not do a written application as to why they went way over, giving people life sentences. The case I cited already with the 2 life sentences, he qualifies for that as well. No reason as to why they went over their sentence. Just did it and got away with it for years. until we came in 2018 and said no more. And that's when Delegate Chanel Hearn said, oh, no. It was our 3,000 cases. During the hearing at the General Assembly, they did a mini stop and did an investigation to get a total, because they could get this information. It's public information, and well, not public information, but it's information for the General Assembly, for the legislators. And discovered it wasn't 3,000, it was 10,000. 10,000 cases of people sitting in prison, whereas the judges were in non-compliance of the written law that said that they shall do a written application. Only through the grace can these things happen. That bill, normally a bill like that would take maybe a couple of years, or you have to go through the system, pass for an oversight, and that bill is the discretionary sentencing guidelines and judicial performance, requiring reports to the General Assembly to note when judges fail to provide that information. And do you know what has happened since then? Since 2018, and we've been keeping an eye on it, since 2019, when people less and less, this is happening less and less each year. Therefore, persons who commit a crime, their sentencing guidelines are fairer, because the judge, I don't know if you lost me or not, but my system blanked me out. Okay, my system blanked out.
You're still here.
Oh, okay.
You're still here.
Okay, my computer blanked me out. So
okay.
They're moving forward. People now in current time receive fairer sentences because the judges are no longer in, well, some of them are still in non-compliance of it. And there is a procedure to make sure that this is not happening. Every year from November, the Sentencing Commission sends a report on all the judges that were in non-compliance of this law to the governor's office by November. There's a date in November, and then from that date in November, it then goes to the appellate court for review. 10,000 cases. People's lives. People giving sentences. Sentences well over the guideline. Yes, you can give them, but you need to explain why. You have a right to know why. So that bill was, again, BH bill, House Bill HB 1055 in 2018, and I give all the kudos to Delegate Chanel L. Hearn, who took it, and on the first drop of that, she was able to get this bill passed through for an oversight, a judicial oversight. The second one, I don't want to take up a lot of your time, is in 2020, which we spoke about, is Virginia Bill SB 793, was sponsored by Senator Jennifer McCullen, was a significant bill that expanded parole eligibility for 540 certain long-term incarcerated persons, especially those for crimes committed as a juvenile or before a key court decision, which was in 2000, which was Richard Fishback versus the Commonwealth. We spoke of that one there. So 540 persons, that we still have those. That doesn't mean that they're going to just open up the door and just let them out. It means that they now have hope through the parole process, where they had zero hope before. And currently, I want to speak on current bill. In 2026, it actually was introduced in 2025, but due to a personal illness with myself, the bill had to be pulled. But it's being reintroduced in 2026 in a couple of weeks right now. We don't have a bill number yet because the bill, we have it in draft and it's gone up. But the patron of that bill is the wonderful Delegate Dolores McQuinn. Her bill, she has taken on our bill last year and is reintroducing it again this year, that aims to create parole eligibility status limitation. Basically parole eligibility for person who were part of the fishback. We still have some people that were part of the original fishback. However, they were sentenced after the June 9th of 2000. So say, for example, you were part of it, but it didn't happen until October or thing. Well, we have a significant number of people that are still sitting in prison that should be under that fishback. And Delegate Dolores McQuinn has championed that, and she is the patron and the sponsor of that bill. And we pray and we hope that it passes into law, and in which we believe it shall do that. So, but with each one of these powerful women, I have to say women, these powerful women, each one of them, when we came to them, when we just had a meeting with them, may have been via Zoom or in-person meeting, they understood the problem. We had the documents. We came with the receipts. And they saw the injustice that was caused, which was not ending mass incarceration, but keeping mass incarceration. And they wanted to help put an end to mass incarceration when there's a way to do so on it. So that's my story, okay, and my advocacy work with them. And I thank each and every one of them, and will always be grateful on behalf of the thousands of people who they have since been able to help.
Okay. I appreciate all of that. The information, the knowledge, the work that you're doing, then you have done. I really don't have words to express. Like, it's so, I mean, it's monumental and it's groundbreaking. And like I said, I appreciate you for just taking up the conversation and having it here. Because I really think more people need to know about it, and more people need to be directed to, like, whenever there's something that, like, anytime people need to show up, then we all need to be notified. It's time to show up, because this stuff, like, it hits. Like, yes, there's always going to be people who say, well, it don't hit my home, but it hits so many of our homes. It hits too many of our homes for us not to be, like, on the ground, knee deep, and concerned and working and supporting it.
Yes, it does. You're so right.
And it's the type of thing where, and again, I'm trying to segue into my next question, but it's the thing where it's like you got to have some kind of faith to keep this kind of a fire burning all of this time. What I'll probably do is I'll try to blend two questions into one, but because you've already spoke to, like, the victories, the big ones, the small ones, and to, why you do this thing. But if you want to go further, that's fine. But the idea also, like, if you can snap your fingers and change one law or one rule in Virginia and have it done, what would that be? What's the biggest barrier that you would remove so that, it'd be just a lot easier for people to get access to the second chance? Like, nobody is saying don't send anybody to jail. Nobody is saying people shouldn't be held accountable. But the idea is make this thing fair.
Yes. And be consistent with this here.
Be consistent.
Make it fair and consistency with that. You are so right. One of the things I want to say, when I reflect back, our organization, which is made of its makeup began with 5 women. It was just all women coming together, but we've never done any. Never celebrated any of our accomplishments or wins or things. We just do the work. We just, if somebody brings us the problem, and if it's something that weighs on our heart that this isn't right, we say we meet on it and we talk about it. We say, so what are we going to do about it?
Right.
Who can we go to get that help? But what I want people to get out of tonight is to understand that we must fight, and how we must fight is through changing the laws. If we don't change the law, we can rally, that's great. We can march, that's great. I march, I rally, I do all of those things too. But we have to change the laws on the books, because it's the laws that's on the books that is destroying us, that is keeping us down, is moving us down. And in order to vote, you have to, in order to participate in the voting process as to who you want to represent you, you must be eligible and to vote. And in order to do that, you must fill out. Unfortunately, until we can get an automatic return, fill out that application form. Submit that application form. Do not let that stop you, because we need each and every person to be able to vote accordingly. And people ask me, why do you always say vote accordingly? Well, that's a little, think about it. Vote accordingly, vote that the best interest of you, who is in the best, who's going to represent you in your interest, the best interest of you. Now, you asked about what would I on the something if I could like snap my finger and change something or bring about change.
Right.
The first thing that comes to mind, there's many things that probably connect, but I want to change the restoration of rights problem that we have in Virginia, because it is so important. People do not understand the importance. I can come to you and talk to 50 people in the room, but if none of them don't have their right about changing the law, this bill that delegate McQuinn is going to be doing, I could be coming to the room and none of y'all don't have your voting rights. And how can you really help me? Because when you go to that General Assembly and when you take down your name and your information on it, they know if you are eligible to vote or not. When you call down to your state and your federal representative, your phone number pops up. It lets them know if you are a constituent or not. You have to be a constituent. It's so important. And in order to get to that point, you have to have your rights restored. So that is so important. And I feel so passionate about is getting people rights restored back to them. And putting an end to this it's ridiculous. It's sad.
It really is. It's one of the things that like irritates me so much is like you always hear this stuff about, we are a nation of laws and all this stuff. And it's like, look, if you say you're a nation of laws, then you change the laws every time you say that, you want to hold people accountable, but then you don't open the door after they, if you do the crime, you must do the time. Now, after they do the time, you don't want them to you don't want to let go of it. It's like nobody is saying don't do the time, but give the people their rights back after they've done the time is the bare bones minimum, and it just seems like they're never really trying to do that.
They won't even change the applications. One of our other successes, real quickly, I would just say is called Ban the Box. Have you ever heard of Ban the Box?
Yes, I did. I heard about Ban the Box when that started popping off.
Well, we brought that to Virginia. We brought it to Virginia, and through our mobile justice tour, we had presentations on why reinvent the box. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. I mean, reinvent the wheel when we don't have to. But brother, I will name drop. Al Sharpton has a brother. His brother does prison reform work. And he gave us the application. He gave it to me at a meeting. He said, "Sister, y'all need to have Ban the Box in Virginia." He explained, I learned about it and everything. He said, "Do you do reentry?" I said, "Well, I really don't do reentry. I'm doing mostly the prison reform." He said, "Well, find somebody in reentry." Long story short, he gave me the packet. He gave me a copy of the bill that passed in many places, what they were using. Why reinvent the wheel? Take this here and do what that is. Well, out of it, in 2 years less, we were able, and through our mobile justice tour, able to get many of the counties and cities, and a lot of people don't even know that in their county and their city they have passed ban the box, which stands for when your application, when you're filling out an application for employment, they will not ask, are you a convicted felon on that application. Many have seen that happen, and these are private companies, even the state. Governor McClellan actually did a bill, executive order. He did an executive order. Sorry, I don't have the number. I think it's 35 or 36, executive order 35 or 36, where actually you can get a state job now as a convicted felon, so long as it's not in the area of where your crime was committed. For example, you can't work in finance if you robbed a bank, that type of thing. You can't be a correction officer if you've been in prison, and that's the reason. But you can actually, that executive order, as far as I know, I don't think Youngkin has rescinded it or not. But that was another campaign that we were very proactive in involving in it. And by having your rights restored, that we need you to help us to get these things to permanent laws.
Right. Now a couple of people in the chat have asked questions. Now I don't know if you want to answer it or you could direct them to your website or something like that.
If you have the time, I have the.
Oh, I got the time. Mother of Civilization asks, how far out does Fishback extend?
To 2022, when they ended the parole board, when they stopped having the jurors do sentencing. It goes from 1995 all the way to 2022.
Okay. 1995 to 2022. Okay. And okay, now Betty White 2850. This isn't so much of a question, but I pray that people of the court stop judging people by the color of their skin. Okay, so that wasn't a question, that's a statement.
Amen.
Yeah, Ashe. Indeed.
Ashe, yes.
Okay, so yeah, I thought there was another question in there, but let me see. So, and I did find the Governor Terry McAuliffe executive order 41.
Okay,
that's so the one that you were talking about.
40 or 41. I knew it was somewhere good. Great.
Okay. All right, so cool. We got that. I just want to make sure I put that on the screen. And for anybody watching still, listen up, everybody, please. Hit the like button, hit the bell to notice so you get the notifications for all for the next video streams. Share this video with anybody and everybody that is interested in this kind of information. We put puzzle pieces together. We look beyond the smoke screen so that people can really understand what's going on and what's needed in the Black community. With that being said, I wanted to, if you there are some people that are truly some people fully embrace offline life. Some people fully embrace online life. If you're really into the hashtag universe, the hashtags that you can use that will help you get more information about the subject, this topic, the organization itself, RIHD, this Mrs. Lillie Branch-Kennedy. Then I got those on the screen. Hashtag RIHD Youth Program, hashtag Prison Reform, hashtags Second Chance, hashtag Mobile Justice Tour, MJT Legislative Advocacy, all of this. I'm putting it out there so that people can. I want people to know this stuff. I want people to use this stuff, blow up the timelines everywhere you are so that more people can know about it. Okay, so one person. Now, okay, Lorraine Cross says, I do not see a bell. If you are on YouTube, when you hit the subscribe button, a bell sort of kind of over to the side. But if you hit the subscribe button, it'll say there's a bell and it'll say personalized notifications or all notifications. And if you hit the all, then you get everything. If you hit the personalized, YouTube likes to play games and not tell you when a person goes live on their thing. But if you hit the all, then you'll get the notifications. Now, okay, that's the little, okay. I paid my bills today, but go ahead.
So I just want to make a last note on, I want to tell you the update on my son. In April 3rd, 2020, Governor Ralph Norton pardoned my son, gave him an early release. He was pardoned in 2020. And today he does, along with his regular career job, he's our ambassador with RIHD, the RIHD Youth Program. I won't get into that, but if you go look at, he's doing an amazing job with our youth. That is what he's chosen to do as his give back on it. Also, I just want to say it's been an 11-year fight for fair sentencing through the need for sentencing reform and establishment of remedies to correct injustices of the past is our campaign. That's the name of our campaign. And lastly, I want to say to people think, there's a lot of organizations, and not to take anything from any other organization, but there's a quote that we live by: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, is the only thing that has ever happened. By Margaret Mead.
I'm trying to get that onto the screen. I don't know if I can get it all on there. By Margaret Mead.
Yeah.
That's a good, I mean, those. Go ahead.
What made us, that's what makes us make up the RIHD Queens. In fact, they've dimmed us as RIHD Queens.
There you go. The RIHD Queens. I like that. Because y'all are really doing the work. And you deserve your flowers for that.
And we're doing the work. We've been doing the work for 20 years, but there's really a lot of, we've been able to affect a lot of other people to start organizations and do the work as well, extend the work and partner with. And so that's been amazing, because that's not what we began to do. We just thought we were just helping, doing little works here to help the public, the families. We were doing family meetings at my church. Every month we would have these prisoners and family support meetings. And we went from there. And many have started their own organizational groups, support groups from there. And so that's a great feeling to know that we've been able to motivate others to get involved, to be proactive in this work.
Right. It is indeed. So somebody asked the question, let's talk about it with Brenda Coles asked the question, how can people support the bill? Now, this to me it touches on something that I asked earlier, because the idea is, like you mentioned, you said, you have the bill, it's coming up in the next couple of weeks. Delegate Dolores McQueen is going to be sponsoring it. How can us as the citizens, how do we support the bill, or how do we support, whoever, do we need to show up somewhere so that they can see, here come a whole bunch of people. We better vote yes.
Well, first they have to become knowledgeable about the bill, to know what is written in the bill, and how you can do that. One second, my phone is just ringing. Knowledge of the bill. The bill was actually, we have a copy of the bill from 2025, but to confuse people, the bill number, it will be a new number. Each year they get new numbers. So I don't want to confuse people, but I can tell them if they want to learn, and then the bill is going to be exact wording, it's the same bill. They can go to VA space HB 2220 space 2025. That is the 2025 version of the bill, and the 2026 will be the same version of the bill. However, it will have a different number. So if they want to become familiarized with it, they can do that. Otherwise, they can reach out to RIHD. They can go to our website, www.rihd.org, and hit on the contact button, send your information. You will go onto our mailing list from there. And we should be getting, my understanding on the update is that the bill is going up for the receive a number. So we probably will get a bill number in the next week. So I will be posting it. If you're not on, I will be posting it on Facebook, Instagram. I will be sending out emails if you're on my emailing list. Trust and believe, I will be publicizing this bill onto the thing. If you go down, where does it say? No, that's the support page. Go to contact us page. Contact.
Let me find that.
Contact.
There we go.
There it is. Right there. Put your name. Everything is there. It comes directly to it's for our mailing list. And we will keep you contact. And even if it doesn't affect you personally or directly, but just the fact is fair. Fairness in the sentencing process that is a must. That we must be fair in the sentences and people be held. We want them to be held accountable. Then make sure it's a fairness that's in there accountable.
Indeed.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Yes, we will be at the General Assembly. We will. People can support the RIHD at the General Assembly. Again, all of that information. Trust. If you're on our mailing list, you will be receiving updates on a continuous basis. You will receive an update saying what is the bill number, a copy of the bill. You will also, when we are notified by Delegate McQuinn when they're going to be the hearings on it, you will be notified. As we know, you will know. It will be on Facebook. It will be everywhere. It's on social media to let you know. So you can also, for Facebook, it's under my name. We do have a mobile. We do have a RIHD page there as well, but mainly under my name, Lillie Branch-Kennedy. If you pull me up on Facebook on there, and you can sign up, we can friend each other from there. And there is RIHD VA at Instagram. You can find us. You just put in RIHD, you'll find us.
RIHD, ladies and gentlemen, RIHD, and you will get to the place you need to get to. So I got that on the screen. That's your number one thing. Let's see. Well, we've hit almost all of the questions. Go ahead.
And when I mentioned about my son being released from on a pardon from Governor Ralph Norton, what people don't know about Governor Northam is that he released 1,200 incarcerated person in less than 1 year. It's historic. 1,200 pardons he gave. No one's ever done that. And that's second chance. And it wasn't about, some people may say, it was nonviolent, violent. There was no, sometimes people do these laws and they say it's only for the nonviolent. Well, people I always say they're not nonviolent. They committed a violent offense. Do not call yourself a violent offender. Say I committed a violent offense, but though I'm no longer that person on there. So people do change, but he did 1,200 pardons.
1,200. That's
hundreds. Google that.
Wow.
And he did it in 1 year. He did it.
And that's a little unexpected from. I ain't trying to.
No, we need to have a conversation on all the things that Northam did do. He is, as a governor, He did more reform, criminal justice reforms than any governor ever in the Commonwealth of Virginia. He got rid of the death penalty, signed it away. He changed the process, even doing pardons. He did it online where you can do them online. He did the restoration. He restored more people's rights automatic. He was the one that did when you left prison, you automatically had your rights restored. For example, my son came home on the 3rd, and on the 5th, he went to look it up, and it was done. It was already done.
And I remember that because I remember, there was some chatter, among some people that I know, and I remember them finding out that under him, there was stuff that was just automatic. It was like, wait a minute, I don't have to fill out. I don't have to.
No, my son put in his thing, and he did the juvenile parole. For juveniles, he brought, even though that law was a Supreme Court ruling, but it was up to the states to decide whether or not they were going to. He did it. I have about 21 different initiatives he took for criminal justice reform, and they weren't weak on it. Wasn't that he was weak on the criminal justice. He was not. He was being fair, and he was getting rid of some of these draconian laws that have been kept on the books.
Right.
On there. Yes, it's surprising. I know why you talk about it surprising.
Right. I ain't want to say it. I ain't want to say it.
Right. But we all have, made our shares of mistakes when we were young, and then who is beyond, who's not of that? But he did do what he did, and he didn't say anything to we had no idea he was going to do many of the things that he did. He just did it.
Right. He just did it. Yes. Real bad boys move in silence.
Yes.
Oh. Well, let me say this. If there's anything else that you want to say or add on, I'm gonna give you the floor. I'm kind of finished. We're finished with the questions. It's been extremely enlightening and informative. And I don't want to necessarily delay or belay.
But it just tell people if you want to reach out to me, contact me, anytime. Go to the website, fill out the contact form on there, and we can conversate from that and get involved with the General Assembly, because it's so important that we get this bill as soon as we get the bill number passed. But the bill is under Delegate Dolores McQuinn. It's a parole bill that extends parole for many people to come, and it's important, and we need to get this done. Fishback was good, but Fishback needs some tweaking. It is a tweaking. It's an amendment to Fishback. Basically, it's an amendment to that.
Okay, indeed. So there you have it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I really do appreciate this. It's an intriguing conversation. It's meaningful and useful, not just for Virginia and not just for Richmond, because anybody else in any other city that is dealing with this, if they listen to this, then they at least get some insight on what they can do in their city, what they can do in their state to try to bring about these changes. Because these things, even though they may be the most extreme draconian in Virginia, like America is what it is. Yes, so every city and every state has their own version of this. So, like I said, but I do thank you very much for this conversation. Let me see now. Lorene Crowell, Crowell 08M says Governor Northern did a lot, but don't forget former Governor Tim Kaine, who brought re-entry to Virginia.
That's true. Yes, he did.
Shout out to them too. Like I said, we're gonna start the little closeout. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is your brother Shabazz, sometimes Professor Shabazz. But right now, I'm Brother Shabazz, and we have been talking tonight with the RIHD queen herself, the innovator, the founder of the organization, Mrs. Lillie Branch-Kennedy. She has informed us of a great many different things going on. Please be on the lookout and join her, support her organization. She has a bill that's coming into fruition in the next couple of weeks with Delegate Dolores McQuinn. This is going to be, more groundwork, more groundbreaking work to further secure what it really means to have a second chance in this in this state. And so please check her out. You can run back the tape and watch this again. I've given her website. It's on the screen. Her hashtags have been on the screen. And so with that, we're going to close out. Thanks to everyone who showed up. Thanks to everyone who has watched. Thanks to everyone who has participated in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keep your comments coming. I will be monitoring the video page after the live. And so if there are any comments that people have left, I will be responding to your comments that way as well. And shout out to Betty White. She said, my son's charged with a B&E that never occurred. What can I do? Yeah, that's okay.
She can reach out to us. I'm not, we make no guarantees, but if I'm willing to listen to hear, and if we can be of assistance, if we're not, we know of, we will give her a directive as to where to find assistance for that.
So once again, I'll throw that on the screen one last time. Reach out to RIHD, and they will help, and they will work with you. How they will try to work with you and see what's going on and give you more specific information. So that's for Betty White. With that, let me come back to the regular screen. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be out. I say peace to everybody, and we will see you on the next one. Like, share, and subscribe is the name of the game. That's how you keep the algorithm jumping, and we will see you next time. Peace.
Thank you. Good night.